everybody. Good morning and welcome in. Thursday here with Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. I got to tell you, Barry, I didn't think I'd ever see a day like this when an Alabama football scrimmage, which is scheduled for about an hour and a half from right now, would take second place to an Alabama basketball game, which is being played tonight, albeit in the Sweet 16. And then opening day of Major League Baseball is, well, I don't know, somewhere or way down the pecking order of level of interest here in our fair state today.
You remember the scene in Trading Places, and kids, if you haven't ever watched Trading Places, do yourself a favor. At the beginning, when they find Billy Ray Valentine down there panhandling on the streets of Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was in Bing Kong or Jing Zhou.
No, that wasn't what it was called.
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, yeah. And then he's down there rolling around on this cart like he doesn't have any legs. And then so the police pick him up, and all of a sudden his legs come down. And it's a happy day. It's a happy day. I'm vibing on that right now. So far, the best. I thought you were going to go
with the line, "Hey, baby, you ever had a man with no legs?"
You never go back. This is that day, the best day of the sporting year so far. 2025, all the confluence of Sweet 16, and Alabama Sweet 16 basketball should take precedence over some scrimmage. It's going to be better covered, I can tell you that. Well, I will be really impressed if John gets some intel out of this scrimmage.
Yeah, 8:30 this morning. Don't they have to go to class? I mean, what the hey?
Listen to John, Mr. Pound the Gavel for class attendance.
Sure, really. Particularly when I'm paying for it.
But then basketball tonight.
609.
BYU versus Alabama. The eyes of the world will be on Newark, New Jersey. 609 BYU versus Alabama in the Sweet 16, the first of 4 Sweet 16 games. Second one is Maryland at Florida, then Arizona and Duke, and then Arkansas and Texas Tech. Add that into opening day of the Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and I don't know where to start. Just thinking about
so many things.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, is East Rutherford just a suburb of Newark, or is it a town of its own? Trying to think.
I consider it more a suburb of New York City. Now,
but it is in New Jersey.
Yeah, Newark's pretty big. It's the biggest city in New Jersey, and it's not too far away from New York. As a matter of fact, about half the time, and I haven't flown into New York a ton, but half the time when we go to New York, we fly in through Newark.
Yeah.
We've flown in through JFK before, which is no picnic. The
reason I ask is I know I've been to the Newark airport as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been anywhere in the city of Newark. I have been to East Rutherford because the Giants football stadium was there at one time. Alabama played in a football game there, and I went. But that's about all I know about Newark. I still can't figure out why Newark is a place you'd want to go to do anything, particularly the Sweet 16. But it'll take place tonight. Good for them. My second question is, I'm getting a lot of stuff on my phone. I'm getting a lot of stuff on my computer. I'm frantic, Barry. Now, where can I watch Braves baseball? Because it's something about stream the Braves all season long. I'm going, wait a minute. Can I just turn it on TBS? Listen to the gang? I mean, I got to stream the America's team? I don't get it.
It is going to be on Sports South, believe it or not, has been taken over by FanDuel, which is interesting in and of itself. You can watch it on FanDuel Sports South and FanDuel Sports Southeast and Gray TV, which, has a couple of holdings here in Alabama. I'm not sure exactly who all's carrying it if it's like over-the-air TV, but it's Braves-Padres. It's this afternoon at 3:10. It's not even the first game. Before you even get into the Sweet 16, there are 11 Major League Baseball games before then. Man. 11, 14 overall. Most of them are in the daytime. It is glorious.
Now, has Major League Baseball always opened up on a Thursday? I want to say back in the day they opened up on a Monday, but
yeah, Monday sounds right.
Yeah.
Heck, I don't know. It actually opened up a week or two ago in Tokyo with a couple of games, but the official opening is today, and it always used to open up with Cincinnati. Well, Cincinnati plays at 3:00 this afternoon, same time as the Braves. It's a glorious thing because, I mean, it's spring's eternal. It comes in right at the opening of spring.
It's eternal, all right.
And the first game of the day, you sit there and you watch it and you say, oh, boy, this is great. I hope I score. And you've got an entire summer of it. It's not once a week where it's Saturday, we got to go back out again, or it's not 3 times a week or anything. It's the consistency of it. Hey, Fred, you got the afternoon off? You've already made your monthly widget total quota? Hey, what do you say we mosey on down MARTA and go take in a ball game? Are they playing at home? Yeah. It's our company is having our company day where we can go, we can get a bobblehead of the boss, we can get specials on Bud Light and take in a ball game. John, that is America right there.
Yeah. I hear all summer long. I'm looking at some schedules. Go figure. The Yankees and the Dodgers are the only games on a network that people are aware of. I see tomorrow something called Apple TV. You can watch a couple of games.
Yeah,
FS1.
I've got Apple TV. Yeah.
I also see that, normally the Braves open up, then the next day they got an off day. That's not the case this year. They're going 2 days in a row before an off day. Man, that's convenient. I just can't tell you how excited I am.
So great.
Just 2:00 Yankees and hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. Then at 2:07. Wow, check out that 2:07. I love these first pitch times. But I got to tell you, and you know me, I mean, unless it's convenient, shouldn't it be convenient for the customer, the consumer? We're trying to make it as easy as we possibly can. And I got to stream it or go to FanDuel, Gray TV. I thought Sports South was like 20 years ago.
If we could adequately, you look at John right now, swig of coffee, clean cuts, sort of still looks like a young professional out there, but he's got the soul of an 85-year-old man, on the outside, sure, he looks, trim and fit and ready to go and ready to beat the world and everything, but inside his soul is on a walker and it smells like Vic Salve and, his back hurts and all that kind of stuff. What is all this stuff about streaming? I don't get. I bet he was that way even when he was a very little kid. Dad, what is cable? Cable's not going to do anything. What we have to do? What we have to have a box? It's the same way with this. Griping about streaming is like griping about the space program. Why in the world are we sending people out to the moon? We got problems right here. It's the thing. It's the coming thing. It's the world today. And John gripes because he has to click, right click, click, and he's like, oh.
Now I've got YouTube TV, and there's aspects of it I like. There's aspects of it I don't like. I like to channel hop. I like to skip around, and you just can't do that. It's a little slow. These look, if we can send a man to the moon, I think we can make streaming TV a little faster, more convenient for me. That's all I'm saying. But baseball, I cannot tell you. I'm going to take a lot of that in today because, ESPN's the only two games are the Yankees and the Dodgers. And for the Braves, if I got to jump through all those hoops, they've lost me.
Hoops.
They lost
through hoops.
They lost me years ago.
They never had him.
Yeah, they never had me.
Yeah. The Baltimore Orioles open up at 2:07 at Toronto. Bill Miner, Bill from Baltimore, checks in. He says, as much as John complains about where to watch baseball, he does have a point. If you want people to watch, make it as easy as possible. Here's the deal, though, Bill. We're talking about his thumb on a clicker. We're not talking about him having to, pour in this amount of coal into the hopper for your television to turn on. Or we're not talking about him having to go out and buy a television every day and bring it to his house on his back and plug it in. We're talking about click, 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 enter, click, click.
Yeah.
Let's define our terms here. When you talk about easy.
See, Barry, I was spoiled.
Watch anything.
When the jump button was invented and put on remote controls, that was a game changer for me.
Well,
no delay, instant access, instantly to the next picture. I don't have to go through a lot of streaming and wheel turning and all that kind of junk. Yeah. I do like the quad box. You can't get that on cable, but man, they've got to speed this thing up for me a little bit. Kind of like the game of baseball as a whole. Couple of things have caught my attention. Chris, don't be getting cute with the Phantom, asking how he did last night. That's not good karma for you.
That'll get you banned.
That later. Yeah. We'll get to that later. What is my Braves prediction, Chris? Same one it's been for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Kind of like a prediction I make about a team. They'll go 8-4.
And the thing that's difficult is that except for about twice, he's been right. There've been 2 times when he's been wrong about the Braves flaming out in the playoffs.
I like my odds there.
Yeah,
also, Getty Lee says he went to the Auburn game at Riverwalk with my former across-the-street neighbor Tuesday night. Getty, that sounds a lot of fun. 2 questions. I had no clue Auburn was playing at Riverwalk. Where was the promotion? Where was the marketing? And number 2, I've had several across-the-street neighbors. You got to be a little bit more specific with that.
Yeah, they get a little tired of never getting their newspaper. And, the across-the-street neighbors, Dad, there's Mr. Longshore again in his skivvies going out and getting his trash can back. That kind of stuff. So
or putting my trash in their trash can. If I'm overloaded, I just put it in theirs.
Yeah,
is that a crime? Is that not a nice thing to do? Go, ooh, they're not looking. Mine's overflowing. I'm going to stick a little of my trash in their trash can.
There's a difference between a crime and a nice thing to do. John, hey, John, will you stop putting your trash in my receptacle? I pay the same utilities that you do. And John says, is it a crime? Therefore, I ought to be able to do it. It's that way. So we are underway. It is our Thursday show. John, we got a lot going on today.
We have got a ton. You're right about that, Barry. A ton going on today. Of course, Sweet 16 basketball tonight, headed up by Alabama and BYU. That's the first game. We'll talk about that one along with all the others. Auburn's tomorrow night. We'll certainly get into that as well. But you're right, Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, in about 15 minutes will join us on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Also, Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, at the top of the next hour, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Bart Heish, our resident college basketball insider, brought to you by Riverbank and Trust at the bottom of hour number 2. Chris, the Phantom's Daily Dog, around 8:20 today. 8:50, Gurn Jr.'s Victorland 777 topic wheel. But also in the first hour, Barry, we're going to look at the Texas Longhorns. We're going through every SEC team's win total for 2025. They were posted a couple of weeks ago out in Vegas. We're going to give you our thoughts on what we think the Longhorns can do. 9.5 is the number for Texas. Will they go over or under that? Well, we'll talk about it later this hour.
That's exactly right. We're underway. Glad you're along with us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already done so, mostly hit that subscribe button, then hit the like button. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, welcome back in. Glad you're with us here, everybody, on this Thursday. It is opening day of Major League Baseball. Alabama Sweet 16 action tonight, the first game in Newark, the first of 4. And, Barry, I don't know, we've been together a long time broadcasting, talking, analyzing sports. I don't think this has ever happened before. And maybe it's just because of the schedule and how everything's falling today. But 5, certainly 10, 15, 20 years ago, a football scrimmage in the spring would have dominated our sports conversation and our listener involvement. Who do you think starting today? Does this guy have to have a really good game? Yeah, I hear this guy's really been turning heads.
Biff, I believe that Keelan Russell is so good. That's the reason why I hear they didn't play him much in that scrimmage, is they want to keep him under wraps. And, the running back room, loaded. Let me tell you about that scrimmage. It was – I think a lot of times that has gone away because, number one, there's less and less access every year to it. Number two, there are not – the days that John and I grew up with slobber-knocker, bull in the ring, spring practices where you separated the men from the boys and, Junction, Texas and all, man, that's through. They ain't doing that anymore. And Coach Brian, even in his book, which I even in the book about the Junction boys from a buddy of ours named Jim Dent, he said, I probably shouldn't have done that. And people are getting wise about that. There is not that. There are no physical spring practices. There really aren't. I mean, there's some hitting and some thud going on, but there's not like it used to be. And same thing with scrimmages. Mostly it's situational. You're not out there running 4 quarters of big-time football where your quarterbacks are getting smacked around and all that kind of stuff. So, is there really any intel? It's not really a scrimmage. So is there really any inside information? Whew, boy, I'm telling you, that number 2 defense against the first team offense, or what I think is the first team offense, really stuffed a couple of running plays. Well, was it late in a drive where, everybody's hunkering down, the quarterback's wearing the green jersey, so he knows he ain't going to get hit, and he's standing back there in the pocket just picking out receivers? That's not real football, and you can't really get a whole lot out of, it's a scrimmage. Let me take a look. Number one, you can't take a look anymore. And number two, those that do are being allowed access into the scrimmage, not because of their football insight and intelligence. They're being invited in there because of their checkbook and their credit card more than anything else.
The donations that they make.
No question. So, I get it that it's not that big of a deal. Spring is not that big of a deal anymore. And, to be honest, I think the real only reason why anybody's even thinking about having a spring game, and Alabama is not, by the way, is to keep the donors and to keep the alums, engaged in it all. Yeah. That's it. That's all.
They released some information yesterday. The university sent something out about spring, the Golden Flake 8A weekend or whatever it's called. And to me, it's just going to be an hour and a half, or maybe not even an hour and a half of just practice. There again, I didn't like practicing, and I'm sure as heck don't like watching it. And they're giving fans opportunities, Barry, to $500 to take the game ball out to the 50-yard line. Well, they're not playing a game. Who are you giving the ball to? Or $300 to get a seat, right here on the in the back of the end zone or something. I mean, all these little ways to enhance the 8A activities in the 8A game with a cost. I mean, it's going to cost you. For $500 to take the so-called game ball out to you get to keep the ball.
No, that's the ball they use. Here's what you can sound smart with your friends about at the water cooler. It will not be televised. No. For the first time since at least 2006. I just know how far back it is. I was part of the television play-by-play crew. I was the play-by-play announcer on the first A-Day game for Dennis Franchione.
Yeah,
me and Doug Layton, we did the TV. I remember Mitchell from Tuscaloosa and our buddy Monty laughing at me from outside. What are you doing here? It's not going to be televised. Admission to the stadium will be free, although Alabama announced it will hold an autograph session on the field after the practice. That autograph session, by the way, limited to members of the Yay Alabama NIL collective. And they've been the past years. So, if you want to get an autograph on the field of Ryan Williams or heck, Ty Simpson or somebody like that, you better be donating to the Yay Alabama NIL collective.
So, Barry, I heard that yesterday too. I don't know how many members are in Yay Alabama. I don't know what the total number is. I know some people here, obviously, in Montgomery that are part of it.
Right.
They're not going to stand in line to get an autograph. I know them. They're not doing it. Now, they love Alabama sports. They go to all the games, go to a lot of basketball games too. They're supporting the NIL collective. They're not standing in line to go get an autograph from a player or a coach. I'm thinking, if I'm in Yay, Alabama, I should be able to get an autograph anytime I want it, particularly if I'm donating 4 and 5 figures to Yay, Alabama.
Right.
So I don't know how many of those maybe the $18 crowd's going to go stand in line because then they have some promotion, $18 a month from everybody gets us X amount of million. But, Barry, what does that do for Beulah from Double Springs and Bubba from Notasulga who want to go, what do they call it, the running of the Gumps? Those days are over.
Yeah, gone. For those of you who cannot afford tickets to the games themselves, and I get it, and this is your one big chance other than, the Western Kentucky game or something to actually be there. It ain't happening. The most and if you bring the money, you can take part in it. The most expensive upgrades from just the regular premium experiences or the regular experiences of the Alabama A-Day game, $500 allows, Bob, a child, age 12 and under, a child to deliver a ball to the officials on A-Day while being featured on the video boards at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The other one, $500, also for a child, guys, a child. Bubba from Notasulga, you can't go running out there to join Alabama's captains on the field. The kickoff captain will also be shown on the stadium screens. $30. You can tour the locker room at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You have to pick a certain time slot. So $30 locker room tour. Hey, look, Joe, that's Ryan Williams, his athletic supporter. I don't know. The Walk of Champions. I think Milrow's gonna be there. I get it mixed up with the hands in the cement at Denny Chimes. But the Walk of Champions, usually first come, first served to those who wanted to show up early and greet the Tide on their way into the stadium. And some of you guys would show up early. How is it that you ain't camping out for a Sweet 16 basketball team, but you're camping out for the Walk of Champions? But now, if you're going to the Walk of Champions and you want to be on the front row, $50. $50 for a message on the video boards during the game.
So the way I see that,
Joe and Agnes say, "Roll Tide" from McIntosh or wherever,
the thing about the child, I don't know what the age limit is, 13,
12.
14, 12.
Yeah, in honor of Namath.
So to me, that is Meemaw and Pawpaw sending little grandson out there with the ball, and they're going to fork over the $500 for him to go do it.
Yeah. Because, they're forking over $500 for him to go play travel ball. Why not?
They're forking over a lot more than $500.
Sorry, speaking to the choir here. You can. There's other conventional updates or upgrades. Depending on you want to go watch the A-Day, whatever it is, in a suite. Costs you more, obviously. Better parking costs you more.
Is that suite come with a parking pass? Because if it doesn't, I'm not interested.
Yep. On the NIL side, Alabama will hold an autograph session for Yay Alabama members after the practice. And I bet even for Yay Alabama members, you're probably going to have to pay for an autograph from the player themselves. You think Ryan Williams, who makes, 6-7 figures playing football in Alabama, you think he's going to sign a bunch of autographs for free? I don't think so.
I don't think so. But I hope, Barry, that and there again, things are a lot different than they used to be. And I'm making a blanket statement here. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to gauge it or measure it. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you today. As of today, this day, on March the 27th, I think there are more Alabama fans interested in what's going to be happening tonight in Newark than what's happening this morning at the Hank Crisp indoor practice facility or wherever they're holding this scrimmage today. That used to not be the case. I'm telling you, I feel today that's the case. There's more interest in the basketball right now today than there is a scrimmage in late March.
Strong words. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Auburn and the Sweet 16 and spring practice and all of that as well with our guy Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. That's next. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. So glad you're with us. About 29 minutes to the top of the hour. Each and every Thursday, we check in with our friend Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. Barry, looks like Jason's on the road today. Man, we love it when we got guys traveling talking to us. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, I'm on the move this morning. Not quite traveling just yet, but I am traveling around Auburn a little bit. So on the move this morning some.
Well, let's catch up a little bit on basketball. Let's backtrack a little bit. The game Saturday, Auburn puts away Creighton late. You were right about Kalkbrenner. He is all that for Creighton. 12-point win for Auburn. Your takeaways from that, Jason?
I think it was probably as big a confidence boost as they've had in quite a while, because for, I don't know, the first 15 minutes of that game, I'm not sure that a team could play much better than Creighton did. And to be down at 2 at the half instead of, down 8 or 10, I thought, Auburn was right there. And I think that was a big boost for them. And honestly, I thought they played really well. Creighton's a good basketball team. And so you start talking about, matchups and some of those things. And, we talked about a little bit about Kalkbrenner. It's like, look, that's a difficult matchup for Janai Broome. And it showed up. I mean, he's long and he impacted Broome at the rim. And I thought that was a big part of the game. But Auburn's guards were able to, I thought, have more flow and rhythm because Auburn wasn't able to just pound the ball inside all day. So I thought it actually opened up some of the things for them offensively. And who knows, it might have been the most important thing for them if they want to make a run was to have to lean on the guards a little bit more. And those guys stepped up. And so now you may have the same type of game tomorrow night. Michigan has 2 bigs and, 2 6'10", 6'11", 250-pound guys. They aren't big shot blockers, but they impact you around the rim and they rebound. And so for Auburn, I think it's another guard game. And so, but I thought it was a big step for them to have to lean on Tahad Pettiford and Denver Jones and those guys to make shots that weren't threes. I think that's going to be another important part of things for them if they want to make a run.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Jason. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about these 2 bigs from Michigan, and I just had pointed out I thought Auburn's guard play had improved, particularly in the game against Creighton, and I'm with you. I think guard play is the key to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, and I think if guard play is where we tomorrow night is like it was the other night against Creighton, I certainly like Auburn's chances a lot.
Yeah, and I think, too, this part of that is the one thing Auburn has done a good job of this year is not turn the ball over. Right. They've done a good job of not turning it over. Michigan is, I think I looked this morning, they're 320th out of 364 teams in turnovers. And so if you're Auburn, I think you want to try to speed this game up, try to turn Michigan over, and try to create a little bit more 94 feet. And, if you're able to do that, I think then that helps you maybe negate some of the twin big men from Michigan. Maybe helps you stay and avoid some foul trouble potentially with Dylan Caldwell and Chaney Johnson. And they won't get to a track meet in the NCAA tournament because there's too many timeouts and there's too many breaks. Yeah. But maybe you can get a little bit more up and down game.
Let me ask you about this, just to get it out on the record, because people have asked me about this. When Michigan got that late layup from Trey Donaldson, it was pretty much a standard departure for the same reasons that people are departing these days: money and NIL and opportunity, right?
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty good relationship with these guys. I think they wanted Trey to stay, but I think he also saw, with Denver Jones coming back, and you add Todd Pettiford, and you get. At the time you brought in J.P. Pegues and you thought he was going to be a guy that was going to be your starting point guard. I think Trey Donaldson knew, hey, if I want to go be a guy, I probably need to go elsewhere. And so I think for him, it was a win-win for both. I think for Auburn, it's worked out really well, and obviously for Trey, he's become an important part of things for a rebuilding program. So yeah, this one's one where I think you'll see some guys. I mean, people talked even about it with Aiden Holloway. They're like, oh. Well, you saw the players when they saw Aiden Holloway, they were hugging and good. It'll be the same thing with Trey Donaldson. It'll be, hey, good to see you again. We want to beat you, but good luck. Good luck next year. That'll be the message, if you can say that.
Jason, what's the feel there in and around Auburn? Obviously, Atlanta's not that far away. Easy drive up 85. I'm expecting to see State Farm Arena look similar to Neville Arena tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think. The only pause I have is just the game time. People have made a big deal because I put something on social media about the game time. I'm like, I wasn't talking about the players. They'll play at 5 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter to them. I'm talking about the people that have to go and drive and get hotel rooms and all those things and get out of a game at 1 a.m. in the morning local time in Atlanta. That might cause a little bit, but I looked last night and the cheapest tickets you can get is $563 now.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive when you start talking about fans. I think it's going to be a great crowd. Obviously, because part of that too is you got Michigan and Michigan State, two of the biggest name and big huge fan bases, and then Ole Miss. Ole Miss is hungry. They'll have a bunch of fans there too. So I think when you look at it, it's the makings of an extraordinary crowd for these games on Friday.
Jason Caldwell is with us, Auburn Undercover, and on social media at ITAT Jason. 3-4 days into the Auburn football spring practice. We've asked you before about the differences in spring practice from when you first started covering Auburn football way back when. But is there any real intel coming out over the first 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, we actually had a pretty good bit. We spoke to every assistant coach. On the day before the first pair of practice on Monday. So we got every assistant coach. So you had a pretty good idea of, what they saw. They actually had 3 days of practice last week, and we talked about it, how they were kind of going to ease into things, do a lot of mental work, do some of those things. And so we got a chance to talk to them, speak to them, talk to some folks during pro day the other day about some of the things going on. Then we talked to Hugh Freeze. So we've had a chance to talk to a lot of people, and then we got to stay an entire practice. We got to see the whole thing. Yeah, we got to watch it from beginning to end. And when you get the video and photo of the whole thing, we got to watch it. So you got to see some reps. You got to see guys throwing. So it kind of gave you a pretty good idea of kind of what this group looks like so far. So yeah, we've been able to do some things. I put together kind of a notebook of insider stuff the other day, and we've had stories galore since that time. And John, I'm right on board with you, though. There's no question on this side that fans are much more interested in a basketball game Friday night than they are spring football at the moment.
It's amazing. It really is. I didn't think I'd ever see a day like this come. And you're right about the video, Jason. I mean, Barry, last night on CBS 8, we're showing video of Auburn's practice. There's Jackson Arnold with an orange practice jersey on running around. I'm thinking, wait a minute. When this start happening? This is pretty cool. So, and it was kind of interesting. It just, you see these guys, they were, Arnold's wearing, red and white for Oklahoma last year. Now he's got an orange practice jersey on for Auburn. It's just kind of interesting to see that.
Yeah. I actually talked to Jackson a little bit during the pro day. He was there watching, and, these guys often come and watch pro day and do some of that stuff, and got the sense from him that he is really enjoying the move. And we've heard a lot about Auburn's wide receivers already with Eric Singleton, obviously Cam Coleman and Michael Simmons and those guys. And I think I think he and Deuce Knight are pretty happy so far with the guys they have to throw to. And that's such a big part of what Hugh Freeze wants to do on offense. And I think from the early returns, they feel like this is a wide receiver group that's going to have a chance to be pretty good. And so, for a quarterback, that's probably a pretty good feeling. So, but I think the transition has been smooth. And I think it was probably a smart move for Hugh Freeze and the staff to back up spring practice a little bit, to maybe wait a little longer. So, because it gave them a chance to get more mental work in. They had a chance to get guys in the weight room a little bit longer. And I think they were able to hit the ground running and go through things a lot quicker and a lot more smooth than they might have been had they started a little earlier.
You know, I noted in Coach Freeze's pre-spring practice, he was talking about the fact that it's no longer a what he called a 15-day meat grinder thing in spring practice. It's more about teaching and making sure the kids are as healthy as can be, as much as anything else, Jason.
Yeah, no, and he's talked about it. He mentioned it again. He's all for the NFL kind of model of having those maybe a 10-day kind of mini camp in June and not really even putting pads on in the spring and going through contact and just maybe doing more of the mental side of things. That's what he would like to do. And they've taken so much away already that I think for them it's almost you go through spring and then you have to start over in August. I think they feel like, hey, if you could go through it in June, you might not have to start over so much.
Right.
Whenever you hit the and then you also wouldn't have to. You go through spring, you work out, you practice, then you have some time, and then you start back up again. That way, once you started it, say the end of June, you would just go, hey, you got the 4th of July, and then it's go time. And so I think they feel like maybe it'd give you a chance to have a little bit more continuity.
So as we get into the Sweet 16, we're kind of looking ahead, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Do you think there's a team that Bruce Pearl would rather face in the next round if they knock off Michigan tomorrow night, Ole Miss or Michigan State?
No, probably not. And they definitely wouldn't tell you if you thought there was. That's for sure. Honestly, you look at it and you go, well, you got a team you've already beaten 3 times. I'm not so certain I would want to play Ole Miss again.
Right.
They're just, I don't know. They give me vibes a little bit of the 2019 Auburn team for some reason. They just kind of, you look at guard play, they're not real big, but they have an edge and an attitude about them. And I think Ole Miss is playing really well. Michigan State, you got Tom Izzo on the other side. They rebound the ball really well. Good guard play. Honestly, you get to this point in the year and you go, hey, you just try to advance, survive, and then take your shot.
Yeah, that's the way John and I live our lives too, as a matter of fact. Obviously you've reached your destination. Appreciate you joining us here on your drive around. This is always great information and intel from you. How do people get more, Jason?
Yeah, check us out at you look at us at auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. Right now, if you haven't ever signed up, it is $1 for the first month.
Oh, wow.
It's March Madness special. So if you want to take a look around and come check under the hood, $1 for a month during this time of the year, that's about as good a deal as you can get. And there's a ton of stuff going on. So come check us out.
ITAT Jason on Twitter and X as well with the late breaking stuff as well. Jason, always appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I thank you, Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, and our City of Montgomery guest hotline. How about that, driving around Auburn, the Auburn area, joining us here today. Really, really appreciate that. Good stuff. All right. So Auburn tomorrow night against Michigan. Got a feeling about that. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow till we get into that one. Who knows? We'll see.
All right. Yeah. And we're talking about Alabama and their approach to spring practice. Auburn's is exactly, going, not exactly, but pretty much the same approach. Freeze in his Monday press conference says the days of a spring game where you're televising that, these are his words exactly, quote, the days of a spring game where you're televising that and the portal opens the next week, that doesn't make much sense. He says, I think those days are kind of over. And the portal being next week, is a huge part of that. John, you've brought this up many times before, even before the landscape changed. In spring, it's pretty smart not to say, oh, this guy's absolutely far and away the starter at left tackle, or there's no real competition now at quarterback and everything, because you know what? Guys will jump ship. You want to kind of, hey, now with spring, they can jump ship and they'll have people waiting for them, even if they're, they don't have many reps or much tape about their game preparation. Hey, that kid looks good. Did you guys know about him? Man, he's grown since he got at Auburn. Boy, if he's not starting, we ought to get in touch with him next week.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. I saw an article today. I think it was at AL.com. The transfer portal in basketball opened Monday. Alabama's getting ready to play BYU in a Sweet 16 game, and one of the assistant coaches, Finado, says he's already received 73 phone calls. Wait a minute, aren't they preparing for a Sweet 16 game? How do they deal with all that at the same time?
Heck,
I mean, that's ridiculous.
The assistant
73 calls and counting. How an Alabama coach handles wild transfer portal during March Madness. I mean, yeah, how do you handle that?
Tell them to stop. Good luck with that. They ain't stopping, because there's no guardrails. If they do get caught tampering, so what? NCAA's not going to do anything. If some guy who's some player's uncle or uncle calls up a school and says, hey, I know my guy's in the Sweet 16, but he ain't happy. They got this they got this transfer guy coming in for a visit, and man, if he comes in, my guy's going to want to get out. What do you think? Well, do you represent him? He's my nephew. Come on. Well, can you speak for him? You know that we're not allowed to contact anybody yet. Well, you don't contact him. I'm just letting you know that you ought to when the time comes. That kind of a thing happens all the time. And
it's unbelievable. How in the world are they juggling it all? Football, they do it in December, doing bowl prep, conference championship game prep. I got to get that straightened out, no doubt.
Yeah.
I want to send a shout out to my former across the street neighbor, John, who went to the Riverwalk Stadium Tuesday night. John, good to know that you watch and listen every day. We appreciate that. Good stuff. See John and around and about from time to time. Also, Barry, when we come back, we're going to check in on the Texas Longhorns. What's their, I think 9.5 is their posted win total. Vegas has them for 2025.
Yeah.
Can they eclipse that, or will they be under it? We'll tell you what we think when we return.
Yep. Well, somebody also asked about that. He was at that Auburn South Alabama game at Riverwalk Stadium. That was not last night. That was Tuesday night, and Auburn won it pretty handily in that game. So
I just didn't even know that. I hate to say that, Barry. I'm in Montgomery, in sports media in Montgomery. I had no clue that game was even going on till Getty Lee put that on the chat line today.
Yep.
I know I'm not in another form of media where we did talk and promote that type stuff quite a bit.
Yes.
I missed it.
Still, though, Auburn's having a really good year. I think the number 12 in the nation right now. They beat South Alabama 13-5 at Riverwalk. I'll go Longshore on you. I would be interested in how many people attended that game.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, well, it's 12 before the hour. Coming up in about, 12 minutes, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Later on, a visit with our basketball guru. That'll be Bart Heish coming up later on as well on this edition of the show. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to Banking Above and Beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. River Bank and Trust. Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market in about 10 minutes. 9.5 is where the Texas Longhorns were established a couple of weeks ago. The win total out in Vegas, 9.5. Will it be over or under that? As I like to do, Barry, I look at the non-conference schedules right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And boy, do they have a doozy in week one.
Doozy is an underrated word. You know, people need to use the word doozy more. They used to back in the olden days. Texas versus defending national champion Ohio State at the Horseshoe on the first Saturday of the real year. Announce your presence with authority. I don't know much about Ohio State. Both Ohio State and Texas are changing out quarterbacks. But wouldn't that be just the Manningest thing of Manning ever, is for the Arch Manning era to open up with a resounding victory at Ohio State in his first start as full-time starting quarterback. Boy. I think they can do it. I don't know that there's another team in the SEC. John, there might not be another team in the nation that I feel more strongly about than the Texas Longhorns. They got everything you need, and I think years from now, not even many years, 2, 3, 4 years from now, Longhorn fans are going to be thinking, honestly, man, what was Sark thinking? Why in the world did Quinn Ewers ever start over Arch Manning? Man, we could have had Arch for 2 years as our starter, and he was the backup and third down guy for Quinn Ewers. People are going to be screaming about that, just like they screamed about Jake Fromm getting the starting job at Georgia over Justin Fields. Arch Manning is going to be all that. I'm here. If
they go into Columbus and win that game, there's your Heisman Trophy winner right there.
Unless he screws it up, it'll be his to win. Believe me.
But I'm not sure they can go into Columbus and win. And so what? If they lose that game, they got 11 more games, and they're 11 easy ones. So they're going to be in the college football playoff. You can go ahead and book that right now. The 12 teams, they're going to be one of them, no matter what happens in Columbus. But I think for discussion's sake, I'm going to say Ohio State wins that one. Is that going to be a big noon Saturday kickoff or a primetime game? That's going to be interesting, because I think that will affect maybe the kickoff time for Alabama at Florida State the same day. Kind of hoping it would be a night game in Tallahassee. That might not be good for the visiting team's fans. Could get a little rowdy down there at Doak Campbell. But nonetheless, I'm going to and there again, Texas's first 4 games are non-conference. So,
they get it out of the way early.
They certainly do. I think they're losing the opener. But my second question, Barry, after they beat San Jose State
Yeah.
in week 2. Why in the world are they playing 2 back-to-back in-state teams? What kind of school like Texas does stuff like that?
I am very, very impressed with you, John. So impressed. Not just because you point out that Texas is playing in-state non-conference teams. It's a little bit different for Texas because the state of Texas has about 145 college football teams out there. But so impressed with John. He knows that UTEP in week 3 at the steakhouse at UTEP is in El Paso. It's in Texas. Good on John to know that Sam Houston is in Texas. The Sam Houston Bearcats with a K in week 4. So I've got Texas, talking about 9.5. I've got Texas 4-0 before the first off week.
I'm with you. I think so too. And Bear, as I mentioned yesterday when we talked about Tennessee, there's one other team in this league that plays Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vandy, and Kentucky. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. Texas has got to have one of the weakest, not only, playing Ohio State's pretty strong, weakest conference schedule because they've got the Sooners, the Bulldogs, the Commodores, and the Wildcats. Yet again, those 4 teams were in the bottom third of the SEC last year. I'm expecting them to be there again this year as well.
And they've got them back to back to back to back.
Yep.
Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl, Kentucky on the road, Mississippi State on the road, and Vanderbilt at home. Really, the 2 road games that concern me are Florida on the road before that Oklahoma stretch and Georgia on the road in Athens, November 15th. Golly, can you imagine playing at Ohio State, playing at Georgia, and still I'm extremely bullish on them getting over the 9.5?
Yeah, and they've got A&M at home at the end of the year. So to me, Barry, this is probably one of the strongest picks I've made so far, but over 9.5, even if they lose to Ohio State and Georgia, they're getting over 9.5. They'd be at 10-2 at that point. 10-2 is the worst. I see this Texas team going. They will be a college football playoff team, no doubt about it.
And I don't like that necessarily. John opens up by saying, even if they lose to Ohio State, no big deal.
So what?
Texas, Ohio State should be a be-all, end-all, not knock them down, drag them out, slobber knocker, snot bubble game.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to be approaching that like, if we lose, so what? Come on now. Same thing with Georgia. You lose at Ohio State, you lose at Georgia, you'll still have a chance to play for a national championship, which is right. I mean, I agree with that. I just don't like the premise that you can go up man-to-man against Ohio State, and they'll be better than you. You can go man-up against Georgia, and they'll be better than you. But you can still play for a national championship.
Sure.
Well, there's 2 teams that have already proven on the field that they can play better than you can. Why in the world should you still have a chance to play for the national championship?
And look at that. They've got an off week before they travel to Athens to take on Georgia.
Yep. They got 2. That's a good point. They've got 2 off weeks built in during the season. Everybody does. An off week before they go to Florida and an off week before they go to Georgia.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yep.
Gern,
I've got them over.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Yep.
No doubt about it. I got Texas going over the total of 9.5. And Barry, that's one right there, I think, as we do this again before the start of the season, that number's going to be higher. I think that number's going to be at 10, possibly 10.5 when we get closer to the late August start. Because I just, there again, I don't see anybody other than Ohio State and Georgia even concerning Tennessee. And how in the world they got
Texas
Oklahoma,
Texas
Vandy, Mississippi
loaded.
State, and Kentucky on their schedule.
Again, all in a row, back to back to back to back. They I smelled something there. There may be some collusion. I think Greg Sankey really, really, really has many reasons why he wants Texas to be good.
Well,
Many
Robbie,
reasons.
has chimed in. Robbie's in early today. Yeah, Robbie, we understand they play Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, and A&M. Florida was middle of the road last year. Oklahoma was below middle of the road, and you forgot to insert Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt in there as well, Robbie. So check out the whole schedule. And yes, we know it's Sweet 16 basketball, but Robbie, it is this day. We do it every year. The Braves are not winning the World Series, Robbie. I'm gonna go ahead and out on that limb right here today and tell you the Braves are not going to win the World Series. I'm not even sure they're going to make postseason, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they will. And then, as they normally do, they'll be eliminated after the first round. Where have you heard that before?
I disagree. They'll make the playoffs. I'm with Robbie 100%. He says when everybody gets healthy, the Braves will challenge the Phillies and the Mets in the difficult NL East. Again, you look at the odds makers, BetMGM, they've got the Braves as the favorite to win the NL East. Not everybody's healthy yet. They lose Max Fried, which hurts, but Chris Sale's going to start the opener this afternoon. And just the opener this afternoon puts goosebumps on me. Opening day.
Do I have to say this every year? I feel like I do. Yeah, they'll win the NL East because it's so weak, and then they'll finally face some that are good, like the Dodgers, and they'll get eliminated. I mean,
they ain't going to beat the Dodgers. That much is true. I do have every year.
It's just same old, same old.
Yep.
Hey, Barry, I believe our friend Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, hooked up, ready to go on this Thursday. Rodney, of course, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood arriving daily to the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Fresh shrimp and medium, large, and jumbo sizes, that crawfish that David tells us about. You can get that boiled or spicy boiled crawfish there. It's available, fresh oysters, and, of course, all the seafood varieties from the Gulf arriving daily to the Destin Connection Seafood Market. 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Call ahead, 288-4272. Your order will be ready for pickup. It's the best. It's the freshest. Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Bringing you Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. Good morning to you, Rodney.
Good morning, guys. How are you today?
Doing pretty well. John has already gone on record with at least a little bit of surprise that that the first scrimmage for Alabama football, which I believe is taking place right now, John?
Yep. 30 minutes or so, Rodney?
Is being blown out of the water by Alabama basketball. What a day and age we live in, Rodney.
Yeah, times have changed a little bit. They sure have. Obviously the success Nate Oates has had with this program has the fan base really fired up. And to be honest with you, I mean, spring football talk, there is some, we can put up a little piece on, the things we are hearing that would have generated 150 responses. And now you get a few, 8 or 10 people saying thanks. That's about it.
It is a strange day and age, Rodney. Barry and I were talking about it this morning. Here it is, Thursday. Alabama's going to scrimmage for the first time this spring, but the basketball team's in a Sweet 16 game for the third year in a row. And I don't want to say there's not as much interest, but there's just not as much buzz. I guess, people were just so into, what's Nick Saban going to do at spring? Who's the quarterback going to be? Who's the left tackle? Whatever. I'm certainly not hearing that. I mean, what about you? I mean, what's the buzz? You mentioned, on TiderInsider, people are saying thanks, but I would have to see maybe the conversation on the chat rooms are a little bit different than what they've been in years past.
They are, John and Barry. Here's the thing, too.
Okay.
Go a little deeper. This has kind of been trending this way for a long time. And I say a long time. When Saban started having all his success, of course, there was tremendous interest. And the interest remained, don't get me wrong. But Alabama fans got a little complacent. They began to expect number one recruiting classes. The question was, is Alabama going to be in the national championship game? That was really the question. And there was a sense of complacency there. And let me give you a little story. There was a stretch there, probably right after 2015. Alabama had won the championship in 9, 11, 12, and 15, and was winning all these recruiting battles. And I noticed that we lost some members, which was unusual.
Yeah.
So I compiled a list of these members that hadn't renewed. I called them and I said, "Hey, is there something we did wrong?" "Oh, no, nothing you did wrong. But you know what? I know we're going to win. I know we're going to have the number 1 recruiting class. I don't have that passion, that intensity that I had." You see, that's complacency. So that's a little bit what we're talking about, John. But with this, obviously Nate Oates has generated a ton of interest in the basketball program. I think Alabama fans have always been proud and hopeful for their basketball program. There's no doubt about that, right? I mean, there is no doubt. So they're excited because they feel Nate Oates has Alabama legitimately in position, not that they're going to, but in a position where they can truly compete for a national championship. Final Four. That's elevated kind of the expectations of Alabama fans.
I would say so, and I'm with you, Rodney. I mean, I've felt the complacency. I mean, I don't know if I subscribe to this, Rodney, but there's some people out there that think, Alabama fans are a little arrogant, a little cocky, think that they've got, they're better than everybody else. I mean, I don't know, but maybe reality is kind of hit them a little bit. They're thinking, wow, we got knocked down a peg or two, and maybe we need to see how the other half of the world lives, and then we'll be right back up where we're used to being. But right now, there's a little uncertainty. Last season, certainly they saw things that they had not seen in 17 years, most notably games against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma and Michigan for that matter. So, yeah, I mean, I think that all factors in, and they're ready to see some of the, the proof that, okay, Kalen DeBoer and this staff can get Alabama back to where the fans want them to be, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I think, John, that's very true. And I think that here's the thing, to me, is fans are extremely emotional. You have to step back and truly evaluate the situation. And first of all, college football was changing dramatically when Kalen DeBoer got here. He was really the first major transition in this NIL portal period, and I'm talking about major transition, right? He comes in, his whole roster can leave, and he can't do much about it in terms of going out and grabbing other guys, because at the time the portal was closed. So he didn't have an opportunity to replace a lot of guys. He had to replace, with guys that came from Washington because that job was open.
Right.
Okay. So he could take guys from there, or he could, receive guys from there, however you want to phrase it. So he was in a difficult situation. There was so much going on. And not to mention, you're replacing the guy that is the greatest coach considered in the last 50 years since Coach Bryant. Okay, so all of that's difficult enough. And then the expectations of Alabama fans is, okay, this guy, he just played in the national championship game at Washington. He's got to come in and kind of pick up where Saban left off. It was a tough situation. So is there some, if you want to phrase it, doubt? Of course. I mean, there is. He doesn't do everything like Saban did, and he shouldn't. He should do it exactly the way he wants to do. The way I look at Kalen DeBoer is this: whether he succeeds or whether he fails, he needs to do it his way. And Alabama fans need to say, look, you know what? Let's watch him do it. Let's watch him see what happens. I mean, that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He has a track record for success. It might not be exactly the way Alabama fans are used to it or have seen it the last 17 years, but I do think that there's a great vibe right now. I'm hearing really great things in terms of the energy, the intensity, the passion at practice. I'm not predicting that it's going to be, 12-0 or whatever, 13-0 and going to the playoffs and whatever. I'm not making any predictions there. I'm just saying the things that I hear are really encouraging. So, it remains to be seen.
Well, speaking of really encouraging, let me ask you an open-ended question. Who is Jordan Edmonds, and why is that so encouraging for Alabama fans?
Well, first of all, there you go. You're talking about recruiting. He's done a really great job of recruiting. Again, I know guys can come and go whenever they want, but he has done a tremendous job. Talking about DeBoer and his staff. So Jordan Edmonds is considered the number one corner in this class right now out of Marietta, Georgia. And listen, last year Alabama signed Dejon Lee out of California. We've been raving about him on TiderInsider.com. The things we're hearing is 6'4", 200-pound corner that has been extraordinarily impressive, right? So they got Dejon Lee, and they also signed Chuck McDonald, another highly recruited corner out of California last year. Those are two top corners. They've got a commitment from Zion Gibson, who's one of the nation's top 4 corners. He's number 4 corner out of Gadsden City. And now they get Jordan Edmonds. So they've got, when you look at their corners for the future, they're loading up. They're doing a great job. And what that's really telling me is when you can get guys at the same position like that, that number one, they want to play for Alabama, meaning they want to play for Mo Lindquist. They want to play in this program, Kalen DeBoer. And they're not afraid of competition. That's what Saban always preached. And, we want guys that aren't afraid to be here. So I see that. That's what I think is significant, partly significant about the commitment of Jordan Edmonds.
Speaking of recruiting as a whole, Rodney, and I know when TiderInsider started 30 years ago, people were interested in the recruiting aspect, and of course your knowledge with recruiting, with the transfer portal nowadays. Rodney, is recruiting that important, or is interesting, or your subscribers wanting to know as much about it? Because I can tell you from our side of it, and even in our radio days, the last 5 or 6 years in radio, it's like recruiting just wasn't the buzz that it had been 15, 25, 20 years earlier.
Well, and I detail it in my book. That's really what TiderInsider. I saw that from Corpus Christi, Texas, the only way I could get started is not covering the team 1,000 miles away, but covering recruiting. And it was something that was a passion of mine. So people wanted recruiting information. So there was a real niche there. And so, John, when I first got to Tuscaloosa after we started 18 months after or something like that, 18 months after we started TiderInsider, I moved it full time here to Tuscaloosa. And I'm telling you, recruiting was it. Covering the team was really important, but the recruiting was nonstop. But it is different now because these guys well, first of all, they flip on a regular basis. It used to be if you committed to a school, there was about maybe a 3% chance that a guy wouldn't follow through with a commitment.
Because a commitment means commitment.
Commitment. Exactly. Not holding a spot just in case.
Right.
And so it has changed. And then the portal, NIL, all of those things, no doubt about it. The passion, the interest in terms of following recruiting. And think about this, John. You can read when let's say you have 10 kids visit, you can call every one of them and they're going to say the same: great visit, got to meet the coaches, incredible facilities. Yeah, they're definitely one of my top teams. Well, I could have written that same story 25 years ago. It's the same thing. It really carries no weight. So now you just have to kind of allow this thing to play out. And, it's a year-to-year deal. You have to see what your roster looks like. Because look, guess what? The portal opens right after spring practice again. So we're going to have to wait and see what Alabama's roster looks like after spring. And don't forget, like Peyton Woodyard last year, the highly recruited safety out of California, he bolted right after A-Day. He went to Oregon.
Yeah.
Of course, Julian Sayin left before that. So I say all that to just say, you're right. That's a great point.
Well, there's a basketball game tonight. Even though there's a scrimmage this morning, wanted to get your just feel about what you think might happen. But what about the basketball game tonight? Obviously, a lot of buzz on campus. The team's in Newark. Interesting place to be playing a Sweet 16 game. But BYU, Rodney, to me, is kind of a mirror of Alabama. They like to shoot the three. They like to play fast. What do you think about the matchup tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, this is a game that, you could see 190 points scored or more. I mean, this is going to be both these teams high scoring. They shoot the threes. I think really for Alabama is this: defend the three, hit your threes, because listen, BYU, they score a lot of threes. They give up a lot of threes. They don't defend the three very well. Now tonight, you watch them; they'll be out there defending it. but now defend the three, and I'd say this: limit BYU's second chances. You got to be strong on the defensive end, in my opinion, and rebounding. You can't let them have 3 shots. 2, 3 shots. I mean, multiple shots. So I think that's a real key. I just think Alabama's mindset defensively has to be really up there. So, but you never know, man. You get in one of these games against a team like this that can shoot the lights out of the place. Hey, I haven't forgotten Billy the Kid Donovan.
Providence. Yeah.
So you never know. But they're not a very big team. They're not very big inside. And I think Alabama can, maybe control that on the interior.
Outstanding stuff. As always, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Lots going on. How do people access the information and conversation you guys provide?
Right. TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There is an address there to send a check, gives you all our premium information. I tell you, that includes, things that we put out, of course, and we'll have some stuff, obviously, from the scrimmage. Now, it is a closed scrimmage.
Yeah.
We expect to have sources there, that kind of help us a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But it may take a little while. But so we hope to have plenty from the scrimmage, but also our All Sports Forum. That's our community there of Alabama fans. It's really a great exchange of information and so forth there on TiderInsider.com.
And Rodney, is the scrimmage at the stadium or at the practice field?
No, I think it's an indoor facility today. Actually.
Okay. Yeah, because usually these things happen inside Bryant-Denny, but inside the indoor practice facility, I found that very interesting. I guess the word came out. Too many people sitting in Bryant-Denny with their cell phones texting me information as it happened. I mean, what am I going to do now, Rodney? It's just unbelievable. I mean, they're not making any fun anymore.
John and Barry, here's the thing too. I get messages from Red Elephant Club members or whoever, and they're like, is the scrimmage really on Thursday? Is it on Friday? I mean, this has become a traditional Saturday scrimmage. You have the 2 Saturday scrimmages leading up to A-Day, but it goes back to what we said, and they're like, this isn't the way Saban did it. Saban had. Well, you know what? You got to allow him to do it his way.
That's right.
The next scrimmage, by the way, is on a Friday. So,
yeah.
There we go.
Wow, it is different.
There we go.
Man, Rodney, we look forward to the nuggets that we can maybe find out at TiderInsider.com. Thank you so much for your time. We always look forward to it. We'll do it again next week.
Well, now, John and Barry, listen. I know you guys got some sources too. So if you get any nuggets, I'm expecting a text message.
There you go.
Yeah, you count
Goes
on
both
it.
ways, Rodney.
Yeah,
thanks
you
a bunch.
count on that, Rodney. Definitely, buddy. We appreciate it. Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Folks, you hungry? Call ahead 288-4272, and they can prepare anything in the showcase. Of course, I've been telling you about the grilled grouper po' boy. Absolutely phenomenal. You can get a fried oyster po' boy, fried shrimp po' boy, any type of po' boy you want. It's po' boy, not poor boy.
It's not a poor boy.
It's a po' boy. And I do it. I'm telling you, it is Oh, it is so tasty. I might even do it today for lunch. Fantastic. The Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road.
Even Favor Flav when he calls in. It's like, poor boy. Yep, they'll fix it for you. Absolutely. Well, coming up a little bit later on, more basketball with Bart Heish, our basketball insider, about 10 minutes from now. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Good. Let me see. There you go. Oh, of course, already started one. Hey, joining us again is Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. And Marianne, Easter's not far away. And I know at Marguerite's, people love to come by and look at jewelry for Easter gifts, or maybe just need some new jewelry pieces for the Easter season.
Definitely. Well, Easter is definitely coming up, and we've got lots of great ideas. There's always christening or baptism gifts or, April birthdays. We have a wide selection of crosses. I'm amazed every time somebody comes in, they're like, well, do you have a cross or diamond one? Or I want some with or without diamonds. And we're just like, yeah, they're all over. And they're expecting just this tiny little section. And we take them literally around the entire store, because that's one thing that you can be guaranteed that Marguerite's will have: a huge selection of crosses and lots of different price points. So we can have, baby gifts up to you name it.
Yeah. And of course, at Marguerite's, they're a full-service jeweler. So whether it's new jewelry items, whether it's repairs, or maybe you found something old that you want to bring back to life, put it into a new setting, something like that, Marguerite's can certainly help you out. But yep, we're here, the Easter season. And of course, Easter gifts, Marguerite's has what you were looking for. You're at 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. How about your hours of operation so our viewers and listeners can come by and see you?
Sure, definitely. We're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Marianne and the whole staff at Marguerite's welcome you to come by and see them for all of the great jewelry items for Easter. Hey, Marianne, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
All right, Marguerite's, great jewelry items. Easter coming up. Go by and see them there in Pepper Tree, 8163 Vaughn Road. All right, Barry. So now we normally get into, do we need to get into the Phantom today, or can we move on?
No, just real quick, because there
okay.
are people who not only watch our live show later on loop, they watch it for the entertainment, for the information, for the guests and everything, but they watch it to see what happens. Ooh, I missed the Phantom's dog of the day. Some of them, unfortunately, have the personality trait for where they say, Phantom dog of the day didn't work out.
Yeah.
And they'll go back just to see the Phantom. They'll go back and replay the show just to see John have to acknowledge that, the Phantom missed on one. So that's up on the Phantom, believe me.
That's the gamble you take, part of the pun. In doing this, you might not win them all. And that's certainly, if I won them all, I've said this before, I wouldn't, nothing against you, Barry, but I probably wouldn't be doing this every day if I was winning them all. I mean, probably sitting on some beach somewhere. But
that's right. Yep.
Last night I kind of knew, Barry. I turned it on. I was channel surfing. I'd seen this episode of Law and Order on the Sundance Channel, so I said, let's skip a little bit. Stumbled upon ESPN, and the Celtics Sun game was tipping off. And I knew it was. I don't know if you can find the line score. I don't even know if they have this in the box score, but I believe I heard the announcer say the Celtics were 7 for 7 from the 3-point line, and they were still in the first quarter. And the color analyst goes, I think it might be a high-scoring game tonight, Bob, or whoever. I don't know if his guy's name was Bob or not, but I went, whoa, did I just hear that correctly?
7 for 7 in the first quarter.
I went, no way. Now, the score was like 28-25, and they're still in the first quarter. I'm thinking, wow.
Well, I do know that the Celtics hit 7 of their first 9.
Maybe that was it.
4 minutes in, they were up 21-9. And as it turns out, Celtics never trailed.
No.
Celtics beat the Suns by 30 last night.
We didn't Yeah. We didn't need them to win by that much. Didn't need them to win that much. They did. Hey, got to take the good with the bad. And last night was bad.
Not good.
But yeah, the Celtics were hot. And Bear, how do I put this without sounding? I mean, I don't know any other way to put it.
Just throw it out there.
The starting five for and I watched a lot of Celtics basketball, Barry, but let me see if I can dance around this a little bit.
They are the defending NBA champions.
Yeah.
By the way,
the starting five for the Celtics last night looked very similar in one aspect to the starting five of the Celtics, say, back in the mid-'80s.
Really?
Yeah.
Green uniforms.
Their uniform color was a lot like a lot of the starting players on the floor for them.
I got you. Well,
yeah.
Jason Tatum, who's the Celtics' best player.
Is Danny Ainge back? I mean,
Jerry Sichting, Bill Walton, Kevin McHale, Larry Bird. Am I on the right track here?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, Jason Tatum did not play, the Celtics star, and they still won by 30 points.
See, I knew that.
Night.
I factored that into my prognostication, and it didn't help me out any.
Speaking of John's observation about the Celtic player's appearance, about
I just thought it looked like the 80s. I thought, wow, this turn back in time here. Only thing missing, Barry, remember when Danny Ainge used to wear those kind of shorty shorts?
They all did.
They did not have the short trousers on.
With that observation, that oblique, very, very veiled observation from John about the makeup of the Celtics roster in mind, that brings up the question, will the Phantom go with BYU tonight?
Well, you're a smart man, Barry. It's amazing that you were able to pick up.
There are maybe some of those same similarities. I don't know.
Yes, and I'll just go ahead and tell you that's not why I'm taking them. And I'm probably, Barry, going a lot against a lot of trends. Obviously, there's one trend that I'm going to go against.
Right.
Alabama and BYU. Alabama opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. As of right now, they are a 5.5-point favorite, indicating that money has been placed on the Crimson Tide to not only win the game, but to cover the spread.
Larger number. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep, a larger number. So some money has come in on the Crimson Tide. But, Barry, we've been talking about this all year long. And I've seen a little BYU basketball. Yesterday we talked about teams that they had beaten.
Yeah.
Winning streaks that they had been on. The style of play. They shoot the three really well.
They do. They're an older team in terms of age, they usually are.
They're an older team. They like to get up and down the floor. That's great. But, Barry, I've been saying this about this Alabama team all season. If they're not hitting the three, things can get a little sideways. Turn the ball over more than they need to. Not getting the offensive rebounds. Not playing defense as well as they need to. Kind of going through lapses. Yeah. Going through a little down period, if you will. Mark Sears hasn't been incredibly strong from the three-point line in postseason. I just can't confidently say Alabama's going to win this game by more than 5.5. I think BYU is a very disciplined team. They're going to stick to their game plan. I don't think they're going to get rattled, try to change things around. Yeah. And if it doesn't, if they're not hitting the three, then they're going to get beat. But I just think there's too many negatives with Alabama that we've talked about all season long. And they've had several games where they've put it all together. Can they do it tonight? I'm not confident enough in thinking that they can. So with that, turnovers, defensive lapses, not hitting the three as effectively as they need to. Check the numbers. It's not that great. I'm going to take BYU plus the 5.5 tonight.
Okay. All right.
Got a little cushion there. I mean, Alabama can win the game, obviously. But I just don't see a big route here tonight. I've heard some people say Bama by 25. Oh, this is not even close. Heard some prognosticators out there really loving Alabama tonight.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I'm taking BYU plus 5.5 tonight. That's the Phantom's daily dog.
Unlike yesterday's daily dog, or probably similar to yesterday, he's not picking them just strictly based on the number of white guys, but he feels strongly that BYU can get in under what seems like a pretty big number. It's the first of 2 games tonight from the Prudential Center in Newark. The second game, Alabama BYU, is the first. The second game starts at 8:39. It's Arizona versus Duke. So will the Crimson Tide be around to kind of take a look at that one, or are they packing everything up and heading back to Tuscaloosa by the time the Blue Devils take the
around for that one?
Yeah.
Do they want to be around for that Duke game? Just for funsies. If Alabama does win tonight, Duke we think will win. Arizona's a 9.5-point underdog to Duke. What do you think Alabama will be if they face Duke on Saturday?
6.5, maybe? It'll definitely be an underdog.
Oh, yeah.
5.5.
I was thinking 5 to 6. Something like that.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll dive into hoops with our man from Hyche Hoops. Bart Heish will join us next on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. All right, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're with us. 27 minutes to the top of the hour. Each and every week during the basketball season, we welcome in our friend Bart Heish, number 22 for the Mississippi State Bulldog Final Four team. He's our college basketball insider. Bart, good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Morning, gentlemen. How are y'all doing on this Sweet 16 Thursday?
Well, I'm a little disappointed that the Trojans didn't make it to the Sweet 16. That was the expectation. But, man, what an experience. Boy, the tournament is all that. I had a great time up in Milwaukee. It is hard to win in the NCAA tournament. Now we're down to 16 teams. Bart, what has struck you early on about the first 2 rounds?
I think the outrage how there's like no upsets and like our teams you're not expecting in the Sweet 16. You usually have one or two or three. But at the same time, I think you did have some upsets in the first round. Maybe not as many and as teams going further. But I'm not really quite ready in these first two rounds to crown it that the NIL has ruined basketball. I'm not. I think it's changed basketball in an immense way. And I think the most elite level mid-major players are playing on SEC teams for the most part, or Big Ten teams. With that being said, I think teams will adjust. I think you'll see some mid-majors actually maybe rise a little bit and figure out their money situation and figure out a pitch of, do you really want to go over here and play against this talent every single night, aka Steph Curry? I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest, Barry, to answer your question, because I see all these names. I don't see seeds by these names anymore. I don't care what these teams are seeded. They're not the same teams they were early in the year. But it's been interesting to me, the amount of people that have come out and just said basketball is over, because the actual basketball that's being played is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And the ratings are the best they've been in 16 years for the first two rounds. So the fans like it for sure.
Yeah.
Fans love it, and they don't like the NBA anymore. So, that kind of is
particularly after last night. Particularly after last night's Celtics-Suns game. More on that later. On the wrong end of that one, Bart. Anyway, I think as we've talked about this week, I use the phrase helmet games. That's a football term. If a fan sees a particular helmet, I know that team, I'm going to watch this game. I think you could say the same thing about the Sweet 16, because they are teams that people are familiar with. Big 12, Big 10, SEC dominating the Sweet 16 schedule. And I think, your casual basketball fan can go, well, yeah, I've heard of Michigan State and Duke and Alabama and Auburn and Kentucky and Purdue and Arkansas. Yeah, I can handle some of that.
I don't think anybody that doesn't watch basketball, it really matters to them anyway. Your fan, Alabama and Auburn fans watch basketball now. Yeah. I believe that as a whole. I don't think it was like that 5 years ago. I really don't. And you would say, man, y'all's basketball team's pretty good. Well, I don't watch them unless they get in that tournament.
That's pretty good.
I know that guy. I know
that guy. Yeah. I know that guy.
But the last 3 years, literally what Bruce and Nate have done in the last 6-7 years, guys, we're going to look back on this and look at it as the best rival rise maybe in the history of college basketball. It's two programs that nobody ever paid attention to. So your helmet games now, Auburn, Alabama, that's kind of, it's kind of relevant. Michigan is back in there.
Yeah.
These teams that you see. Now, you're always going to have some names like your Duke. But at the same time, in this crazy great era of NIL, where's Kansas? Where's Gonzaga? Where's North Carolina? So, it's certain teams, certain coaches getting done what you got to get done. Chris Beard, ingredients that get you to a Final Four. Good guards, one matchup problem, one rim protector.
Well, yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. I know you're not predisposed towards loving the Ole Miss Rebels at all, but I was telling this story, when I was up in Milwaukee, we walked in well in advance of the Troy-Kentucky game, and we saw most of the first half, all of the second half of Ole Miss versus North Carolina. And it's the first time I've seen Ole Miss, and they got length, they've got some size down low. I love the guards and everything. Before we get to Auburn, Alabama, how strongly do you believe in Ole Miss's chances to continue on?
I think they're going to win. I think they're going to be in the Final Eight. I don't think they'll go to the Final Four. Earlier in the year, Richard Hendricks, I got to give a shout out. Early in the SEC season. Now, I think a lot of it, we had this conversation, was because of schedule. But he had Ole Miss be in that team early in the season that he thought might be at the top of the league. When you look at them, they've got three guards that can go get their own.
Yeah.
They really, really do. And when you and a lot of teams don't have that. They've got 5 scorers. 5. Most of these teams, Tennessee, if Tennessee gets that third guy, then we're all scared of Tennessee because what they can do defensively, and Gainey's been that guy.
Yeah.
Ole Miss has got guys Dia at Alabama, 23 and 15, 23 and 16.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at Alabama. When you turn Alabama over constantly, the thing about Ole Miss that people do not realize, I don't necessarily know if this part of the game will be an advantage for Ole Miss because Michigan State doesn't turn it over. They really don't. They never have. I feel like Ole Miss turns teams over at a rate that is Michigan State has turned it over more this year than they usually do, but in the tournament, they're not. That's just not something that they've ever done.
Okay.
But Ole Miss can turn people over at a rate that gets them out and running, and they're really good in transition. They're really good at finding three-point shooters in transition. But the rim protection of Dia when he's engaged and when he's playing on both ends, he's one of the best bigs in the tournament. He's a top 5 big in the tournament, if not top 3. If you start looking at all the post players, because there's not a whole lot of them. Barry, I like him, and I like Chris Beard, and like where he's been in all these different situations, and always ended up winning these type of games. Some coaches just know the ingredients, and so I think this is going to be a really close game. I could see Ole Miss. I actually think Ole Miss will beat Michigan State. I don't think it's the Michigan State that it's been, and I know that sounds crazy coming from me. But I picked them to go to the Sweet 16, and I did not have Michigan State in my final 8. I had Marquette beating Ole Miss, and then Marquette went out. So that kind of messed my Big East call on y'all's show wasn't good last week, by the way. It just worked out in the first round like that day, but when we got to the weekend, it wasn't great. So, but I mean, I dislike Ole Miss probably as much as anybody you'll ever talk to, but I like their team, and I like what I see on the court, how they're playing. I don't see Michigan State going in there and rolling Ole Miss. I think it's going to be a really tight game, really close. And Ole Miss, Barry, wins close games.
They do.
They
do. Well, that is tomorrow night.
Are y'all okay?
The opener tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
My co-host in the morning, like both had to take a break.
Well, I think I'm about to surprise you here in a minute, similar to what you just did with Ole Miss.
One thing we've come to realize is never have any preconceived notions about what Bart Heish is going to say.
That's 100% the truth.
Yeah.
No way.
So let's backtrack just a little bit. That's the first game tomorrow night. First game tonight, BYU, Alabama from the Garden Spot of Newark, New Jersey. What can Alabama fans expect when they tune into CBS tonight?
I like them a lot. I look at numbers, and BYU's not great defensively. Everybody keeps trying to compare BYU to Kentucky. BYU's a lot worse than Kentucky defensively.
Wow.
Like 75th in the country. And I'm not – now, they're elite offensively.
Yeah.
But Alabama sees that every day in practice, right? I mean, this is what Alabama does. The way that Alabama attacked downhill, and you heard Randy Bennett talk about it in that timeout, when they start attacking you in that early offense and Mark Sears getting downhill with his left hand, the quickness of Holloway, the power and shiftiness of Phylon, they've got 3 guards too that can also dribble in, pitch to shooters. Diabate is becoming that rim. Alabama doesn't have to have a post score. They just have to have a rim score, somebody that can catch and finish around the rim. That can be layups from guards.
Drop-offs,
Drop-offs. But I think you'll be able to see Alabama's guards finish. And I know everybody gets tired of me saying it every week, and I'm going to keep saying it. I think this is a game that LeBaron Phylon could have a triple-double. Just the wide open way it plays and in the open floor, and if he gets the minutes and gets going early, he hadn't gotten going early. And I think there's going to be a game, and I think this could be one to where Sears has a little pressure. This isn't going to be a grinder game. Right? This is going to be a lot of possessions to where a lot of guys are in the open floor. I like Alabama to cruise. I mean, to be honest, a double-digit win for the Tide. I like the way they're playing. I really like what I'm seeing from Diabate and Youngblood. And we'll talk about it a little bit, I'm sure, with Auburn in a minute. But 2 guys, Diabate and Youngblood, to me are the key, along with either Holloway or – you know what you're going to get from Sears.
Right.
You're going to get that every single night from him. Which one of these other guys is going to step up? You got to have two of them really step up. You got to have at least 3 scorers with 15 points or more. And if you're Alabama, you're probably going to have at least 22-point scores. They could score 100 points in this game, guys. The biggest key to the game for BYU, 2 things. Keys, get ahead, make Alabama play from behind and make them, if they start missing some shots, make that press, and you got to keep them off the offensive glass. But BYU's got to get to the free throw line and not let Alabama dominate them with the physicality and just shoot 25, 30 free throw makes, and then BYU's never going to be able to catch up with all their threes.
So, of course, I'm going the other way, Bart. I don't like Alabama's they can win the game. I don't think if they do, they're not going to cover the spread. I think it's going to be a closer game if Alabama wins because I've just seen them all year long. They're just not consistent enough.
No eye test for John. He's just his eyes have been –
the turnovers, the lapses in you mentioned defense. Yeah, BYU defensively not very good. Well, I've seen Alabama play some sloppy games on the defensive end of the floor, turn the ball over, some rebounding lapses. And if that three's not working, if it's not hitting, they kind of get into that hurry up. I don't want to say panic mode, but it's almost like they kind of got to, change the game a little bit. I just hadn't seen enough consistency. I know a lot of people out there love love Alabama tonight. They might win it, but if they do, it'll be close. I'm taking the Brigham Young and the points tonight. I like Brigham Young.
I'm surprised. I get it.
Yeah.
I do get it. The consistency. I'm 100% with you. But that first round, that was their game, right, against Robert Morris. Florida had theirs against Connecticut. I think having a game in these first couple of rounds to where you do not play well, like something that Duke did not do, right? They've just been blowing everybody out. Everybody's praising them. Nobody can beat them. No, and I just think that Nate Oates has been here enough now. I know that's crazy to say, but this is his expectation is to when his team doesn't play well, he's going to call them out. He's going to figure it out, and they're going to do it better the next game. Alabama hasn't played a great game in this tournament, and this is when Alabama plays against this style, though, John, they usually do pretty well. That's another reason I like them.
Well, it was was it one of those games for Auburn, the Creighton game, which a 12-point win for Auburn on Saturday, but it was a battle. Is Auburn sharp enough to get past Michigan tomorrow night?
The Michigan, Auburn, and Arkansas, Texas Tech are going to be 2 of my favorite games to watch.
Okay.
I think Michigan has what you have to beat Auburn. You have to have bigs that are just versatile, that can give you problems offensively, that can get you into foul trouble and offset your length. Auburn has dominated. There's not a lot of SEC teams that have a lot of great bigs, guys. That's one thing we never really talked about. And the teams at the top of the league, they were the ones that dominated with physicality all year.
Right.
So I'm the Creighton game. I think Creighton's good. I thought Creighton was really good all year. They had a couple of lulls. I expected them to beat Louisville. I expected them to play Auburn close. So I thought I saw some good things in that game. Pettiford and Chaney Johnson. Those are the 2 guys. Like we talked about it last week, and Pettiford goes off for 23.
Right.
Last game. He makes shots. It changes the complete complexion of the game. Now, when he starts making shots, you got to worry about him shooting you out of the game because getting out of the offense, pounding it too much. Denver Jones has been here. Kelly's an experienced player. Broome, Caldwell, all that experience, right? And yes, Golden has experience, Final Four experience at Michigan. I love his game. I love Wolf's game, but it's not a light switch. At the same time, I really think Auburn can engulf Michigan defensively if you get the swag back. Baker Mazar hasn't played well. He hasn't played with the same energy. He just hasn't been himself when he hasn't been able to just go do whatever he wants. They got to get him back. Him, Johnson, and Pettiford are the key to this game, in my opinion. I expect Auburn to play well. I expect this game to be close, though, and come down to the end of the game. I'm just not sure. I love Donaldson, but I'm just not sure if Donaldson is going to be able to guard orient good enough at the end of the game to play through him and him overcome all the emotion of Auburn and beating the team that he played for. Auburn's still elite, guys. This is not a great matchup for Auburn. Of all the matchups they're going to have in this bracket, this might be the worst one, but I think Bruce will have them ready to play. I think they played well against Creighton. They didn't play perfect.
Right.
They played better. Chaney Johnson is a huge key when he gets to the block and shot fakes because he can get fouls on the other team. And the other thing, Broome doesn't have to score it every time they're not double teaming. It's almost like he feels like he's got to go score it. Pitch it out, reset, let somebody come off a ball screen or repost. I think sometimes he feels like the offense has to go through him every single time if they're not bringing a double. Golden can guard him down there.
Yeah,
so I think you're going to have other guys besides Broome really step up offensively for Auburn.
Bart, can or will Tennessee beat Kentucky for the third time this year?
Or Kentucky beat Tennessee, didn't they? Or was it Tennessee beat
Kentucky? Tennessee's beaten Kentucky twice already.
I just wanted you to say it out loud just because that typically never has happened much before.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, they can. Again, the defense coupled with good offense travels. Now, I'm a believer. I mean, it just sounds crazy. Ole Miss. Now I'm praising Rick Barnes. I mean, I don't know what's happened to me, guys, but this Tennessee team's different. They're different, guys. Ziegler is a dude. Now, Lanier can score it, but they've
amazing.
had a third guy. That third guy's been Gainey or it's been Milich's. Hadn't been Milich's lately, but Gainey has become that guy. I mean, period. Like, you're expecting him to get 15 tonight. He looks the part.
Right.
Like, he looks like he's got it in his eyes. Cade Phillips is coming in and guarding ball screens and playing on the defensive end at an elite level. Next year, you're going to see that kid explode when he gets the ball in his hands offensively and they start going through him. Meshach's one of the best defenders in the country, right? So, I mean, there's 6 or 7 guys, and then the big post is starting to play well too. You can throw it down there and get a couple of buckets out of them. I feel like that Tennessee can really dominate Kentucky in the paint. I don't think Butler's healthy. I think it's a really good accomplishment
He
that
is
Kentucky
not.
has gotten here.
Yeah, we saw him play against
healthy.
Troy basically one-armed, and he's tough enough to do it, but he ain't what he normally is. You're right.
No, and they're just not. They're just flat out not as physical as Tennessee. And the one thing about shoulders, Barry, you talk about Butler. There's 2 things you can't hide in basketball injury-wise. That's a shoulder and a thumb. Then things gonna get in the way everywhere you go and every pass you catch. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
But I like Tennessee in this game. I actually like Tennessee to go to the Final Four. I feel like this Rick Barnes team is ready to take that step. All these other SEC teams you've seen, it kind of gives the ones that haven't been an extra hunger, like a Tennessee, like an Ole Miss, if you will. But Tennessee has the easiest path to me to get through that SEC team before you get there. And I firmly feel like I think Tennessee's better than Kentucky, and I think they're going to beat them tomorrow, and then I think they're going to beat Houston to go to the Final Four.
Wow. Folks, that's why we have him on. I mean, how about that expertise, that prognostication, that analysis? Bart Heish, Hyche Hoops, B Heish 22. Man, that's some great stuff, my friend. I'm telling you, man, I love it. It's awesome.
Well, it's not by choice. I'll tell you that. It's just by analyzing.
It ain't
definitely not by choice.
For sure. Appreciate you, Bart.
I do like Texas Tech over Cal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got 5 SEC teams in the Final 8. 5.
Yeah.
Oh.
5 in the Final 8, 3 in the Final 4. That's what you got coming.
Appreciate you, Bart.
Hey, we'll talk next week, my friend. Thank you so much, Bart.
Thanks,
we love it. Appreciate it. Good stuff. Bart Heish at B Heish 22. Man, that's some great breakdowns there, Barry.
Yeah.
We really appreciate him joining us.
Just enough time for a couple of Gurns Victoryland wheel topics.
Yep. And Barry, when we do come back, if you'll scroll down on the chat line, Greg at 7:23 made a very interesting statement that I'd like to touch on when we get back as well.
Yeah, we've got that coming up. Final segment. It's, again, in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks. Alrighty, welcome back in, everybody. Several minutes until the top of the hour. We will be at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram tomorrow, broadcasting the show from their beautiful showroom there in Prattville on Cobbs Ford Road. So if you're around that way, come by and see us, Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. All right, Barry, at 7:23, our man Greg on our River Region Straw chat line made a statement that I've kind of heard this a little bit, but I hadn't heard it in a while. He brought it up today, and I thought, I'd kind of like to address this.
He says, John and Barry, if Bama misses the playoffs again this year, is DeBoard on the hot seat? And board is spelled B-O-R-E-D. Is DeBoard on the hot seat? And if the Aubs make it and Bama doesn't, does that hot seat get hotter? Surely, Bama Greg, you are not acknowledging or even postulating remotely that Alabama would make any decisions involving their football programs dependent upon what Auburn does.
And that's, certainly a lot of things have got to happen for that to play out.
Right.
And I get it. But let's just, for funsies' sake, it depends on, Greg, obviously, why Alabama missed out on the playoff. How did the season go? Were there more Oklahoma and Vanderbilt type losses? I think you got to factor that in. How many losses did they have in the season? If Auburn makes the playoff, if Auburn beats Alabama at Jordan-Hare, makes the playoff, it's certainly going to turn up the heat. I don't think that Alabama is going to fire Kalen DeBoer if a scenario like that played out. I think it would have to be an off-the-field issue, Mike Price type thing for them to do that after 2 years. It would certainly make year 3 extremely important for Kalen DeBoer. But it would certainly turn the heat up. And it would also kind of maybe bring out some of our old viewers and listeners to the program that have been in long-time hibernation. You know, the Ralphs, the Franks, the Curtises, the Punjas, the Shadows, if he's still around, people like that. You know, I miss that input and those jabs and those needles from that section of our audience. I miss them. Not that I don't. I mean, I love Bob from Pike Road and Danny from Margaritaville and all you guys, but I miss some of those Auburn guys in their involvement. Barry, you know, if that scenario played out like Greg described, those guys would be back with us.
I still think those guys are with us. I've noticed sometimes people don't use their real names. I mean, John was born John Longshore. I was born Barry McKnight. So, you know, those are our real names and everything. I think some people use other names. I tend to believe that's the case. Well, our thanks today for, again, our buddy Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Once again, Bart Heish at Hyche Hoops brings the blowtorch to the NCAA tournament, which gets underway again with a Sweet 16 tonight, Major League Baseball opening day. Boy, we got a lot to get to tomorrow when we're in Prattville.
Well, you better believe it, Barry. Gurn, I see you got the wheel. Keep it for tomorrow. We're going to go to the Gurn Junior Victorland 777 topic wheel. Heck, by tomorrow, you can probably add a couple of more panels to that wheel as well. We're going to be real heavy tomorrow on the topic wheel. I can promise you that, from Stivers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Prattville. But you're right, Barry. Bama basketball tonight. You know, will they prove the Phantom wrong? We'll see. We'll preview Auburn for their game Friday night. Bama scrimmage intel. Have a little of that for you. And what else might we talk about tomorrow?
Oh, we'll have to just wait and see. We want to keep them hanging. We want to keep them hanging.
Yeah, Major League Baseball. How can I forget?
Yeah, for our producer, Gurn Jr., and for John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by